8:45, fired up, the Top Gun himself, Jeff Ladder, joining us. We're going to give you that distinction for the next 4 minutes here on the show. I'm sure you've never heard that before. JD and Ma joining us as well from the Abbotsford International Airshow. Exciting weekend, weather's going to be good, and Jeff, you've got the attire on, and you've got the name Nancy. Nancy is the name of your warbird.
That's right.
Tell us about the plane, because 14 years of saving, this is a very personal connection for you.
Yeah, 14 years it took to save up to finally acquire the airplane. It's a 1958 Nanchang CJ-6A, and it served in the Chinese Air Force with the People's Liberation Army Air Force.
Wow.
So it's mostly used in training and advanced training, although they were also used for ground attack.
And we're going to see some of you in action. Tell us about the training that you have to go through to get an air show ready to put on display like we're going to see this weekend.
Well, first off, a strong background, and particularly for warbirds and vintage aircraft that have radial engines, and as well as aerobatic training is required before you go. But before you see anything at an air show that we're actually flying, we'll have flown probably 100 flights before you see it, going through a very choreographed routine that we train for essentially all year round.
Do you ever get nervous? You ever get sick flying these things?
No, never. I'm very lucky. I don't ever get airsick.
You got a true pro you're working with, JD, this weekend, and a lot of pros coming out. How is this year going to be different? Because we're hearing the spectacle is going to be one of the biggest yet.
We have an amazing show lined up this year. There are 22 different jets in the lineup this year. You know, some amazing photo ops. We have the F-22 Raptor from the U.S. Air Force here at Abbotsford for its first appearance at this annual show.
And you know, as you talk about these names, and I was asking you this during the break, the Warbird, the Snowbird, the basic jet, what's the big distinction here? The
Warbirds are vintage aircraft, so they would be the modern fighters of the previous time. So basically, to be considered a vintage airplane, right now you need to have been built before 1966, and to be a warbird you need to have served in military service. The modern jet teams, they're the modern day version of what the warbirds are. So one day I suppose the F-18 will be considered a warbird. And then the jet teams are formation acts that use a variety of different aircraft. There's 3 jet teams coming to this show, Breitling being one of them.
So big deal, Jaden. You've got I guess the pack of supplies. If you want to go check out the air show, here are the essentials we need to bring.
Absolutely. We have the family flight bag that we brought here today. Of course, with so many jets in the lineup, you'll want to make sure that there's some ear protection for the little ones. We have some earplugs here, different types. It's going to be a nice, beautiful weekend as far as weather, so make sure you're preparing for the sun. You know, those aviators are classic, and what better place to show off your aviators than the Abbotsford International Airshow. Make sure that you're sun smart. Bring a blanket to sit on out on the airfield, and you can even curl up with it at night. At our twilight show on Friday night is actually in the dark in the evening, cools off a little bit, so come and enjoy that.
So the spectators are ready, and I quickly want to hold this up because this looks very vintage. You want to get a close up. Jeff, tell us about the helmet and the inspiration behind this design.
Well, because I fly the vintage airplanes and the warplanes, I wanted to have more of an authentic looking helmet. That's actually a modern day helmet that's made for us specifically with warbirds in New Zealand by Campbell Air Classics. So it's actually a modern helmet made out of carbon fiber, then they wrap it with leather. So it just keeps the authentic look.
How do you not sweat in this thing? It looks like it's going to be pretty
We
warm.
actually wear a sock or a skull cap underneath to keep the sweat out of the helmet.
All right, AbbotsfordAirshow.com. That's the website to find out more. It looks like it's going to be a great spectacle. And what day, time are you flying?
I'll be on Saturday and Sunday performing just around the noon mark, 11:30 to noon, sometime in that time frame. And then, of course, we'll also be out there Friday to watch the show and have the plane on stack display and talk to people.
Plenty to see. And JD, and that's so cool about the Twilight Show as well. So we'll help get the word out there. AbbotsfordAirshow.com. That's the site once again. We'll take another break.